Welcome to the Business Smart Session podcast, brought to you by Pyrus.co. This is your go-to spot for practical tips, expert insights, and smart strategies to grow your business. Whether you're a startup founder, a seasoned entrepreneur, or just business curious, there's something here for you. Let's dive in.
You know how it is when the pressure's on, right? Deadlines are tight, budget's even tighter, and, well, you're always looking for smarter ways to get things done.
Oh, absolutely. That's a constant, really, in so many fields.
And it's definitely something we hear a lot about in the architecture, engineering, and construction, the AEC world.
Yeah.
So today, we're taking a deep dive into something that's being talked about as a potential secret weapon, maybe, for architecture firms, outsourcing.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've been looking at some pretty interesting material discussing how architecture firms are increasingly, partnering up with external teams.
For different parts of their projects.
Exactly, for various stages. It's quite a shift in how many firms are approaching their workflow, actually.
Yeah, it seems like it. So our mission today is really to dig into this, to understand the real benefits, the challenges, and kind of the nuts and bolts of how it works in practice for you listening.
Okay.
So let's start with why. What are the big challenges pushing firms to even, think about outsourcing?
Well, a huge one is just the nature of the workload. It fluctuates wildly.
Right. Feast or famine.
Exactly. You get these super intense periods, multiple projects hitting deadlines, then slower times. And keeping a large permanent staff just for those peaks, that gets really expensive during the lulls.
That makes sense. It's that constant balancing act, isn't it? You need the people power for the rush, but carrying that overhead when things quiet down.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Precisely. And another thing the material points out is how skilled architects often get bogged down.
Bogged down? How so?
Spending heaps of time on technical, sometimes pretty repetitive tasks. Think detailed drafting, putting together documentation sets.
Okay. Necessary stuff, but maybe not the best use of a top designer's time.
Exactly. It can lead to inefficiency, maybe even burnout. We've heard stories, creative people feeling like they spend half their week just churning out drawings.
Right. You've got these brilliant minds trained for complex problem solving, and they're tied up doing work that, needs doing, but isn't leveraging their core talent.
And that links to another point, the software investment.
The tools.
Yes. Things like Revit, AutoCAD, 3ds Max, Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
They're essential now, but they aren't cheap.
Not just the license cost either, I bet.
No, it's the constant training, too.
Yeah.
Keeping everyone up to speed with the latest versions, the advanced features. That's a big ongoing cost, especially for, say, smaller firms.
I can see that being a strain. And then there's just the raw competition, right? Bidding for jobs.
Absolutely. Clients are, understandably, very focused on the bottom line. So firms have to manage their costs effectively to win bids and stay profitable. Outsourcing starts to look like a way to help with that.
A lever to pull for cost control. Okay.
Exactly. So it's really interesting then is looking at what specific tasks are getting outsourced. It's broader than you might first guess.
Okay, let's dive into that. But first, the sources we looked at were pretty clear on one thing. The core creative ideas, the concept design, the client relationship stuff.
That stays in-house.
Yeah, that seems to stay firmly with the main firm, which makes total sense, right? That's the heart of the practice.
It really is. That defines the firm's unique value. But when you look at the more technical, the support functions, there are some common areas that pop up again and again.
Okay, lay them on us. What are the specifics? CAD drafting comes up first.
Right. So for anyone less familiar, that's basically turning those initial design sketches into precise digital drawings. Your floor plans, sections, elevations, all that detailed stuff.
And the time zone thing seems key here.
Huge advantage. The idea of sending off your markups, maybe red lines on drawings, at the end of your workday.
And having updated drawings waiting for you first thing the next morning.
Exactly. That really speeds up the whole process. Then there's BIM, building information modeling.
Right, BIM. More than just drawings, it's like a whole digital model of the building.
Yeah, with data embedded. Materials, systems, coordination. So outsourcing can involve creating the initial BIM model, or maybe tasks like running clash detection to find conflicts between, say, plumbing and structural elements.
That sounds incredibly time-consuming.
It can be. So offloading some of that modeling, or the clash checks, frees up your internal BIM experts for higher-level strategy. We saw examples saving weeks on complex jobs this way.
Wow. Okay. And what about the slick 3D visuals? The renderings?
Oh, yeah. Those super realistic images, walkthroughs, even VR experiences, creating those is often outsourced.
To specialized studios.
Often, yeah. Many are offshore, offering really high quality at more competitive rates.
Mm-hmm.
And those visuals are critical for selling the design to clients.
Absolutely. They make it real. What else?
Construction documentation. This is the big one, often. The really detailed drawings, the schedules, notes, specifications, everything the contractor needs to actually build it and get permits.
That sounds critical
Ugh.
and complex.
Very.
Yeah.
And the sources rightly stress that you absolutely need familiarity with local building codes here.
Right, so you can't just blindly outsource it. You need tight coordination or a partner who knows your local rules.
Exactly. Close collaboration is key. Or finding a partner with that specific local expertise.
Makes sense. Any other common tasks?
Quantity takeoffs and cost estimations sometimes come up. Getting those initial calculations of materials and costs done externally early on.
To help with budgeting and design decisions.
Precisely. Gives you that data to work with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're seeing a pattern. Tags that are technically demanding, maybe repetitive, need high accuracy, but aren't necessarily that core initial design concept.
Those are the prime candidates. Okay, so we've covered the why and the what. Let's talk benefits. What does the material really highlight as the big wins?
Okay, the most obvious one maybe is speed and efficiency.
That 24-hour work cycle idea again.
Yeah, leveraging time zones means the project is potentially moving forward almost continuously. Less dead time waiting for the next step.
That sounds powerful, and I guess speed ties into cost.
Directly. That's the next major benefit, cost control. The numbers we saw suggested potential labor cost savings of like 30 to 50%, sometimes even more.
Yeah, 80 to 50%. That's
Okay.
significant.
It's huge. And that saving allows firms to bid more competitively or protect their profit margins, or maybe both. It's not just about being cheaper. It's about smarter resource use.
Wow, okay. And that saving, that flexibility, it leads to scalability, right?
Absolutely. This is a big one, especially with those fluctuating workloads we talk about.
Instead of hiring frantically for a big project,
You can scale up your outsourced team relatively quickly. And just as importantly, when things slow down, you can scale back down without the pain and cost of layoffs.
that kind of agility must be incredibly valuable, being able to adjust capacity on demand.
It's a major strategic plus.
Yeah.
Lets firms maybe go after projects they couldn't handle otherwise.
And I can see how offloading some of that technical work could really free up the in-house team.
Yes, to focus on their core strengths.
Mm-hmm.
The conceptual design, the client interaction, the problem solving.
Which, the sources suggest, might actually boost morale, and maybe even design quality.
That's the idea. Happier architects, focused on the creative stuff they love, tend to do better work, right? Less time bogged down in documentation. More brain space for innovation.
Makes sense.
And there's one more angle. Access to specialized expertise.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about capacity, but skills.
Sometimes, yeah. An outsourcing partner might have deep experience in a specific building type, like, say, complex hospital design or retail rollouts.
Stuff your firm maybe doesn't do often.
Exactly. Or they might be wizards at advanced BIM for really large, complex projects. Partnering gives you instant access to that niche knowledge. Some also know international codes really well, which is great for global projects.
So it's potentially elevating your capabilities, not just cutting costs. That's a different way to look at it.
It really is. Adds another dimension to the decision.
Okay, but let's be real. Outsourcing isn't magic. Quality control, coordination, those must be huge hurdles.
Oh, absolutely critical. This is where you need really solid management.
What did the sources say? What are the key things to get right?
Number one, repeatedly emphasized, choose your partner carefully. You need someone experienced with a proven track record.
Check references, look at work samples.
Definitely. Non-negotiable. You're essentially extending your team, so vet them properly. Treat it like hiring.
Okay, thorough vetting. What else?
Clear standards and templates. Super important. Give them your firm-specific drawing templates, your layer naming rules, file standards, everything.
Like giving them the firm's DNA for how drawings should look and be organized.
Exactly that. Consistency is key, so their work slots right into yours seamlessly. Setting those expectations up front prevents so many problems later.
Makes sense. And communication. How do you manage that across potentially big distances?
Regular check-ins are vital. The sources stress this. Even short daily video calls can make a huge difference.
To catch issues early, clarify things.
Yes, and just to keep that team feeling connected. Scheduling some overlapping work time, even just an hour or two, helps massively for real-time Q&A.
And using the right tools. Essential. Collaboration platforms like BIM 360, cloud-based CAD, tools that let everyone see the latest version and track changes in real time. It keeps everyone on the same page.
Fosters transparency. Okay. What about actually checking the work, quality assurance?
You absolutely need a robust QA process. This isn't fire and forget. Your senior people in-house need to regularly review the deliverables coming back.
So active oversight.
Very active. Provide clear, constructive feedback, request revisions, treat the remote team like an extension of your own internal team in that sense. It requires engagement.
Right, not just delegation, but management. And one last crucial point, especially in design, intellectual property.
Hugely important. You need strong confidentiality agreements, NDAs in place, robust data security protocols too.
Protecting your designs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your firm's core asset. Got to
Wow.
make sure it's legally protected when working with external partners.
These all sound like really practical, essential steps. Now, you mentioned the material had a case study to see how this works in the real world. Yes, a really good one, actually. It involved a mid-sized European firm. They landed a big project designing a 50-story commercial tower.
Wow, 50 stories. That's a major project.
Huge. So they handled the initial design concepts, the schematic stuff, all in-house. But they looked at the mountain of work needed for the full construction documents.
And decided they needed help.
Exactly. They partnered with an outsourcing firm in India. Crucially, this firm had specific, provable experience with construction docs for high-rise buildings.
Okay, so they found relevant expertise. How big was the outsourced team?
It was a dedicated team of 5 architects and drafters in India, working directly under the European firm's lead project architect.
And how did that daily workflow look across the time zones?
Pretty much like we discussed earlier. The India team worked on the drawings, updated the BIM model during their day.
Then the European team reviewed it the next morning.
Yep, they'd provide detailed feedback, markups, any new info needed, then send it back. This daily cycle kept things moving really efficiently.
Leveraging the time difference and the results. Cost. Timeline.
The study said the cost for that documentation package ended up being about 40% lower than if they'd done it all internally.
40% lower. That's significant savings on a project that size.
Definitely. And importantly, they hit their deadline for delivering the full construction document set. The quality was there too after, a short initial period of getting the communication smooth and making minor adjustments.
That's a powerful example. Big savings, met the deadline, quality maintained. It really shows the potential when it's managed well.
It does. Highlights those tangible benefits.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive on architectural outsourcing, what's the main takeaway you think listeners should hold on to?
I think the big picture is that this isn't just about saving a bit of money anymore. The material really positions strategic outsourcing as a growing competitive advantage.
For firms of all sizes.
Seems like it, yeah.
Yeah.
It offers real potential to boost capacity, speed up delivery, cut production costs significantly, which lets firms compete better, maybe take on more ambitious work.
And the key to unlocking that potential, it sounds like, is that careful integration. Making the outsourced team truly part of your workflow, plus those rigorous quality checks.
That's it. It's about smart partnership, clear processes, and active management, not just farming work out blindly.
Strategic collaboration, well-defined processes. Got it.
Yeah, that ensures you get the results you need.
Really fascinating stuff. Thinking about all this, it makes you wonder, what other professional services, what other industries might be heading towards similar shifts in how they manage work, tap into expertise globally?
Interesting question.
Or, if architecture firms can leverage global talent so effectively for these technical tasks, what does that mean down the line for the roles and the skills needed for architects inside the firm? Something to chew on, maybe.
Definitely food for thought. The skill set focus might shift even more towards that high-level design, client management, and complex problem solving.
Yeah. Just some interesting things to consider as you go about your day.
You've been listening to the Business Smart Session Podcast, proudly sponsored by Pyrus.co. Until next time, stay sharp, stay smart, and keep building something great.